I think I actually just played this game before our coaching session.
Okay. I will say I checked your match history, because I was curious. I think might have a bit of a comp selection issue, but we'll see.
Okay.
There's a little bit too much Rise than I think you should be playing, but
Interesting. I don't think I ever angle Rise specifically. It just like is like this backup that I go to. Maybe a
yeah,
little too much.
yeah. I think yeah, you probably just go to it a little bit too much. I think Rise is really a comp that is like relatively weak.
Uh-huh.
I like the holds here. I think the holds here are fine on stage 1.
Okay. So right now I'm thinking like, all right, I could go slam Rage Blade and go towards. I'm always trying to default Callista over Rise with Rage Blade, but then
Oh yeah. I mean, this is just seems like a Callista game to me.
yeah. The main thing is, whenever I go Callista, it seems like I'm always at least one way contested, and if they have more econ, I'm just like grabbing Rises as a backup, and then somehow I end up there.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like just I know I said like the stats are a little bit different than what you're actually going to experience, but given the fact that it's like a 1.0 whatever, realistically most of the games you should be on, like you should on average be less than one way contested. Just because you are that one player, and even if you want to give it like a significant bump to like 1.4 and say it's like a 1.4 average in your games, which I mean is a number I pulled out of my ass, but I don't think you can. It's virtually impossible that it can be 2, just because that's such a huge statistical bump, right? So, in theory, like if you play enough games, that shouldn't be the case, unless people sort of change. But yeah, like normally you want to be playing it from econ, especially while contested.
Yeah.
Here, I think I would probably look to reroll left and middle, or middle and right. I think it's kind of a playstyle choice where basically if you want to play Callista, you can just take Helpas on the way and kind of like not really play a board. But I will say specifically in component anvils, that's a little bit less appealing, just because your items are already so good, and like one of the main reasons to open right is because you need a very specific set of items in Callista, and so it allows you to take the items, which means you're less contested and you get the items that you need first. But the things against Silver Spoon are that you don't really have any upgrades.
Right. Okay.
I would definitely reroll middle and then think about it. And then here, I mean, obviously you're not taking team building.
Yep.
I think I think this is kind of like a playstyle thing. I think maybe I would just lean Silver Spoon here. Like your items are so good for Callista already that I would just try and take Silver Spoon and hopefully scam a few rounds and then get some upgrades.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're not clicking featherweights here. Okay, D Hans is really good. Okay, Numsy 2. I'd probably always level here.
So that's a mistake selling the Blitz. I was thinking I might get 3 Frost in next.
Yeah, so one thing I will say is like Rumble 1 is probably stronger than Blitz 1 by a little bit, but like the scaling is a little bit weird. Also, actually, I'm not even sure Rumble 1 is stronger than Blitz 1, to be completely honest. In fact, like you don't have a good tank on your board because you want to tank one of the Vanguard units, and I think Blitz 1 is just tankier than Rumble 1. So I would probably just stick with the Blitz here and put the tank items on it. Also, Rumble 2 is extremely expensive, and I think it's unlikely, like it's less likely that you hit a Rumble 2 here than a Blitz 2. But yeah, I would just stick with the Blitzcrank. Like you did sell your honey units, but yeah, I mean, I just think Blitzcrank is OP is basically it, and I don't think Rumble is that OP.
Okay.
It's like Rumble. If you had IE here, for example, I think Rumble is a better hold, because then you're clearly angling towards blasters, and if you get an Ezreal or whatever blaster unit, a lot of times you want to have Rumble on your board, but that's not the case here. And so I would kind of just hold Blitz.
Okay, so it'd be Bow here to try to angle Callista.
Yeah, I would take Bow here.
And maybe it didn't even. Okay, maybe I was tunneling too hard on Hunters wanting IE and then leading into Blasters. Maybe that was what the issue was.
Okay, yeah. I mean, this sword is like it's actually a pretty bad mistake in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm not. There's like no comp here that wants to take sword. Like you have a natural IE and a chain. So, I mean, sorry, not a natural IE. You have a natural Rage Blade and a chain. So you're pretty much hard angling Callista and like maybe Rise as the backup. Neither of which really want a sword.
Yeah.
I think you should always just take Bow or Tyr there, and like Tyr can make whatever tank items, right? So it, like if you don't want to commit Callista for some reason because you don't like the comp or whatever the reason is, I would just go Tyr so that you have like the availability to make Vow if you miss everything or whatever miscellaneous tank item. Tyr kind of just makes all the good tank items in the game right now.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, sword is just really weird here, to be honest. Like if you look at your components, bow, rod, sword, chain, you're not really gonna be in a spot where you can slam 2 items, right? Like what sword item can you make here where you want to slam 2 items? Like Rageblade IE is not actually there's no unit that wants Rageblade IE in the game.
Right.
Like IE is bad on Jinx, IE is bad on Callista, and then Rageblade is bad on Varus, right? So there's no real. I'm not sure how we ended up in the like idea that sword is good here. I think like of every single component in the game, it's probably the worst one you could take.
Mm-hmm. In my mind, I was thinking I could possibly get Glove or Bow on this second one and angle Varus, like i.e. red buff and then slam Crown Guard. But yeah, in hindsight, I think part of the thing with Callista, well, I guess arguably that would be even more true for Varus is, I guess I sometimes struggle to slam the items before I scout the lobby to see like what people are angling and trying to avoid like a 3-way contest.
Yeah, I would say this patch is like you have to scout. Especially with like component anvils where people basically commit on 2-1, right?
Yeah.
Like you can just scout the lobby here. For example, I think this play is actually okay if you scout the lobby and there's 4 people with Rageblade slammed, right? And then you just really, really, really want to not slam Rageblade. I think this play makes sense. But yeah, I mean, just by like the play rate stats, which again I said are not completely accurate, but there's like a 1 gap between Varus and Callista, which is like, even if it's not accurate, it's highly unlikely that Callista is getting played more than Varus, in your average lobby.
Right.
And so, if you're not scouting, I would definitely just angle towards Callista as a default, and your items also just scream Callista, right? Where like Crown Guard is an item that doesn't really do it. I mean, like it's a tank item, which is fine in Varus, but the main reason you make it is to kill Rod, right? Because Rod sucks in Varus. And it's like your items are kind of just screaming for you to do something else, and you like generally in component anvils, you just don't want to pop something with like the hope that your second anvil is going to give you something with it. Unless you're already committed, right? Like if you had Blaster Crown here, I mean whatever, like you take sword because you're committed. But here in a spot where you're open, like you kind of just want to take items that make sense with your components. So like if you take Cloak off the first one, it makes sense because like you're slamming Stoneplate. If you take Bow, it makes sense because you have a Rageblade already, so you can play like some sort of Rageblade carry, which is mainly Callista and like fringe case Jinx. Like I think if you wanted to angle Jinx here, this would actually be a pretty good game to do it. Hunter opener, your items are perfect. And this is like sort of the only games where you want to be angling Jinx, where it's like Hunter opener, your items are perfect, because it's more of a fringe comp. But yeah, you're opting into a line which I will wager is going to be more contested than Varus, more contested than Callista,
right.
The vast majority of the time.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And then so like you end up slamming items that make a lot more sense for Callista, but now you just have a sword.
Yeah.
Or more sense for Rise, right? Like these are both fine if you're leaving yourself open to either. Um, I would be fine with using the remover here. Actually, you actually have Dragon in and no Frost, so I think
Yeah,
I think Nomsy is probably a little bit stronger.
that's what I was thinking after.
Yeah, but I would be fine using the remover here if like you had Frost in. Um, okay, okay, so you're angling Callista, right? You're putting in your Callista planner.
Yeah. The problem is I then scout and find that Wit has risky moves and has double Rageblade slammed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even if you're one way, it shouldn't be the end of the world. Um, Especially because your board looks pretty strong, and that you should be able to 5 streak here, or at least get pretty close and have like a stable mid game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, again, the sword kind of sucks, but you would kind of have to live with it now.
Yeah. Would have had double Rageblade.
Yeah, well, I would probably just take Rod here, and slam Gunblade.
Oh, just
Cause this is like the like you're on a 3 streak, you have a strong board, like you really want to just streak here. You also fought like if you just scout like the right side, most of the people in your pool are not on a full streak, right? So they're going to be relatively weak, and this streak is basically your like solution to a top 4. Also, Gunblade is not the end of the world on Callista, so it's
okay.
like you're still slamming an acceptable Callista item, um, and it helps you streak versus like.
Right.
I mean, obviously, Belt is a better component, like item economy wise, but Callista specifically is also one of the comps where like you don't really care about item economy that much because you only need 2 items on both of your units. So the likelihood that you find like a second recon item is very very high, later into the game,
Mm-hmm.
and
Oh,
so
by the way, I scouted someone here and I wasn't sure if I was going to win, so I leveled.
yeah, I mean, I think this level is fine,
Okay.
especially if you're not sure you're gonna win. I mean, gold wise, it like this streak is literally worth 5 gold, right?
Yeah.
Two streak gold, 2 streak gold next turn, and one for the win. So, um, like if you're not sure, it's actually a relatively cheap level with Silver Spoon.
Mm-hmm.
And like a lot of times they're just gonna be pumping this on 3-1 anyways. So you make like 1 less interest each turn, so you lose 2 gold, but losing your streak is kind of the end of the world here.
Yeah.
So I think this is fine. Okay, you need to sell like the okay. Can you make money? Okay. Kind of sell the wrong units, but you get bailed out by Shyvana 2 anyways.
Yeah.
It's definitely sell at least Lilia.
Yeah.
And then you natural the best item, which is obviously very very good that you end up naturally in redemption here. I mean, I actually Warmogs would have been better, but I mean, I don't think there's going to be much complaining that you get redemption.
Mm-hmm. So you're fine with just going back and finding the Lilia later for?
Yeah,
Like,
wait, you should make 10.
should make
This
10.
is this
Okay.
is for sure make 10. And that's just
I've been.
because I
Mhm.
think Nico 1 when you're not primary tanking is actually better than Elise 2 because it has like the heal and the stun and whatever, and you have the Shyvana 2 as your main tank, right? I think tankiness wise, Nico 2 is Nico 1's a little bit worse than Elise 2, but it's
Mhm.
because you're main tanking something else that I think Nico 1 will just be better here, so you should make money.
Oh, okay.
And then here I would just be trying to click Exiles.
Yeah.
Or reroll the other 2. Okay, you can actually... I think rolling here is also fine. I would probably lean Exiles just because you're on a streak. I'd probably just click it. But like if, for example, I know Wit's for sure contesting you. This is a spot where like you should scout and see if there's like 3 or basically if there's someone else contesting Callista. I would definitely just take rolling here,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of accept that I might lose my streak. Just because I don't think your board is going to be super strong for the rest of stage 3 because you would kind of need like Nico pair or some sort of like upgrade your whole board or like a 2-star 3 cost or something. Just because I think your board is going to start falling off relatively soon. Yeah. And rolling for days kind of allows you to send it on 4-1 or send it on wolves. And another great thing about Silver Spoon playing contested is it makes 4-1 your perfect interval, right?
Right.
So like a lot of times it is an econ augment, and it makes it so that you basically get +4 gold for sending on 4-1, which you'll do a lot of the time while contested. Mm-hmm. But I think assuming Wit's your only contester here, I would just take Exiles, because it's very likely that you can both hit, and your spot is very good.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this is a stronger board. I mean, it's definitely a stronger board, so.
This one I really predicted off.
Yeah, you lose this.
Yeah, okay. It's just those support items are too strong.
Yeah, the support items are a little bit hard to predict because, like, people haven't really been clicking Find Vintage this set, but
yeah,
like it's just Locket is like insanely broken. And he has a Heck too. Is basically it. It kind of sucks that you fought him that turn because, most of the time you would just level here if you're still on streak.
Yeah.
And like you would definitely beat him on level. And you probably just lose to this guy either way. So maybe you just ended up saving yourself some gold. But yeah, like this is kind of what I'm talking about, where you're not that upset with taking rolling for days, just because you kind of expect this board to start falling off without like Nico 2 or like Ezreal 2 or something random. Like usually when you're kind of stuck on like 1 cost and 2 costs and your board isn't full upgraded, or you don't have like some sort of crazy setup, you kind of expect to start losing your streak sometime during the stage. Just because there's so many people that play like some sort of open. And like here I would definitely sell Hecarim to make money.
Okay.
I'd say most of the time you don't really want to hold like you choose to make money instead of holding units that'll go in your comp later, and because most of the time you just need to hit 1, right? Like you aren't going to be like, you would rather have a Hecarim 2 than a Hecarim 1, but you're not going to be that upset about it. Like your board will be stable if you have a Kalista 2 and a Hecarim 1 or a Lilia 1. And so especially playing these like contested comps or comps that require a lot of money, I would lean towards making money instead of holding like the 3 costs and 1 cost that go in the comp later, especially the 3 costs, just because like the odds of you not finding 1 Hecarim are so astronomically small on this 4-2.
Okay.
Obviously, like there will actually be some lobbies where you scout and there will be like 10 Hecarims out, and then in that case I would consider holding it, just because like you don't want to be stuck in that astronomically small world, which is all of a sudden not as astronomically small just because there's so many out of the pool.
Right.
Okay, lucky find. I'd probably just level roll. Okay. Holding Gwen. I know the other regions do this a lot. I'm not sure if that's kind of where you got it from, but
no, I don't think I would have done this if I didn't have double rod here.
No, okay, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, Gwen is actually like a lot of APAC players kind of hold Gwen on this roll down, which is something that NA players pretty much never do. Yeah, so it was like kind of surprised to see you do this, but I guess you're kind of thinking you had double rod, but yeah, it's a thing people do.
Okay.
You don't quite get your board in time.
Yeah,
but
I think I fix it next turn. Katarina and Rakan over these two.
And you probably beat whoever you're fighting right now, just gathered by the fact that they're level 750.
Yeah.
Like I would not slam Warmogs here though, just because.
Oh, because you want the crown.
Yeah. Well, you probably beat the person anyways, and then you want the crown. You also have a Reforger, and I think there's a lot of worlds here where you want to make like Morello Gwen, or you want to end up making Gwen items, and you're actually going to reforge belt.
Okay.
Just because, like, if you're playing Rakan, who does the Warmogs go on, right?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of the time you're gonna end up reforging Belt and making Morello and then having like the open components to play around. Um,
Mm-hmm.
just because if you think about what units you want to like, you already have a 3-item Rakan, right? If you think about it that way.
Yeah.
And it's like you could just go Warmog's Rakan and then Redemption a different unit, which is also fine if that's what you're doing. But you have Exiles, which makes that a little bit worse. And with the Gwen too, I would just really want to have some Gwen items.
Another option is I could just reforge Rageblade and bail on Callista.
No, that's not an option. That's not an option. That's not an option. Yeah, I mean the problem with that is, I mean, open
I do think
reforge
at this
Rageblade.
point when I scouted, Wit had hit his Callista too. But I guess if it's one-way contested, it's fine.
Oh yeah, I mean you're still. I think I would still just. I mean, I think you're just gonna stay in this board and play Callista Gwen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really think there's much pivoting out now. I mean, open reforge is like really crazy, just because there's a million items that are worthless there, and you're pretty much hoping for like maybe blue buff so you can pivot into Karma. But like, yeah, it's just it's a little bit too.
AD
random.
and melee can all go on Fiora, right? So it's like,
yeah,
I guess
but you don't have
one.
a Fiora 2 or like. I mean, you mainly just have like the fairy board, and I think the warrior board is just too expensive from here. And I mean, you can also get more tank items, right? So
yeah,
like you get another tank item here, you're just going Giga 8th.
Yeah. Okay. So out of these three, Inspiring Epitaph probably makes the most sense.
I think Epitaph and Duo Q are both fine. If you're worried about not hitting, I would definitely just take Duo Q. You can also kind of use any two components if you think about it. Like the worst two would probably be like belt, I guess. Because if you get like cloak, you can make Spark plus another cloak item on your Gwen, which is fine. Like Spark BT or like Spark QSS. If you get chain, you can reforge a chain and make Crown Guard, which is again fine. And then obviously if you get any of the damaged ones, like you can make Deathblade Callista for now and then go for Gwen item. Which obviously is not great, but you know, one item Callista is better than no, and you might Duo Q also, like the 5 costs are pretty good in this comp, and yeah, you might just need the econ to hit. Right. It's definitely not LDP though, and yeah. I think Epitaph here is completely fine. I would just take Duo Q because I like hitting basically.
Yeah, and you want to try to fully itemize that Gwen as soon as possible.
Yeah. I just think from this spot, like you're not likely to hit the full board if you don't take econ, and I think Duo Q you're a lot more likely to hit a board that will top for you. Versus I think a lot of times if you click Epitaph here and you roll the 0, and all of a sudden you're still stuck on Rakan 1, Callista 1, your game is looking a little bit shaky.
Okay.
I would definitely take teaming. I would for sure take teaming.
Okay.
I mean, teaming is really good here. Like, you can use any support items. You have no anti-heal, so you can't really get punished for that. I guess Exiles is, like, a little bit sketchy.
Yeah, that was the main reason. I think if I didn't have Exiles, I probably would have took teaming. Yeah,
I think with Exiles, I'm just usually willing to sack Exiles. I think the main miss here is, like, Knight's Vow. But I think anything besides Knight's Vow teaming is fine. Or Banshee's actually I think is okay because you can just Banshee your backline, and Banshee is 25% attack speed. So it's basically a Zeke's on your Callista with a Banshee, and you don't really care about Exiles on your Callista. Okay. I mean, Knight's Vow is more of a miss because you have to put on your frontline, right? So then your frontline losing Exiles is actually more of a big deal. But yeah, I mean, I don't hate Epitaph here either, but like teaming up, giving you the 2 random 4 costs instead of 2 5 costs is probably slightly better.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's like a lot of, if you had anti-heal, I would definitely lean away from teaming up here as well, because then bombies would also be a miss.
Right. Okay.
Also, I would never buy this dress down. I think when you're rolling and like don't have your board, you pretty much only want to click on 0 gold charm or charm that gives you economy.
Oh. Okay.
Or you can click like Ironclad and Mystic just because they're so strong, like based off of your pool. But I would really heavily lean away from clicking like like training dummies, lightning strike, dress down, all these augments that kind of don't do very much unless you think you're going to keep your streak here, which is like
Right.
you are on a streak, but I would wager that dress down is probably not going to be enough to win most of the fights on 4-2, just because your board isn't that great. Also, specifically in Callista, dress down is not actually that good because it's like a scaling comp, and dress down's 8 seconds. And when you fight, when you have like your Callista fights, if you watch the fights, very rarely will you be like doing very much damage or killing many units at 8 seconds.
Right.
Just because your Callista hasn't really ramped yet. Like if you had a 3-item Gwen here, or if you were playing a different comp that does damage a little bit quicker, I think dress down's a lot better, like Varus or Karma or whatever. But specifically in Callista, I think like your damage is very slow, and so dress down tends to be pretty much do nothing in a lot of these fights.
Okay, that makes sense. And I assume we're rolling down to like 10 gold or so here.
Yeah, you're pretty much rolling 0 here. I mean, I would stop at 10 if you literally don't hit Callista pair or Rakan pair.
Right.
Okay. But you also want to get off of like you all really want to have 5 fairy in here.
Yeah.
And it would just be like minus Zillion, minus Shyvana for 5 fairy.
Yeah.
Because you kind of have to keep the Gwen too until like you get until you get the rest of your board upgraded. If you hit the rest of your board, I would probably drop Gwen. I think that's what APAC does, and just put like the Gunblade on a Hecarim 2 or Katarina 2. Just because I think when you have the board, like the Chrono and Preserver from Zillion is really good, but when you have no upgrades, like your Gwen is going to be doing a decent amount of damage. It's kind of going to keep you in, give you a chance to win some of these fights.
Right. So let's say I find a Tristana. I would replace these two with Lily and Tristana, and then probably do Stoneplate Redemption with the armor on Rakan, and then maybe do Warmog on Gwen in the meantime.
I'd probably do Stoneplate Warmogs, and then I would do like Redemption on probably Hecarim and put it behind Rakan. Obviously not directly behind, but like in some way where it should path next to the Rakan. Yeah. Right. And that's normally what you do when you have Redemption. You get like two other tank items. You just Redemption something else and put it behind the Rakan. Okay. And that's just because like I don't think Warmog's Gwen really does anything. That's basically it. And essentially you get like a pseudo 4-item Rakan.
Right.
No, yeah, you should definitely be rolling here. The streak also incentivizes you a little to roll. And the logic behind not rolling here, I guess, would be like you're making a little bit more money. But, yeah, I mean, like each turn you wait, like Rakan's going to get harder to find. And then also, like you're just more likely to not. Like this turn you make 2 gold, right? Oh wait, after you take this, you for sure have to roll. But, like you basically made 2 extra gold at the cost of maybe second round. Obviously you won the round, right? But a lot of the times like that's probably one of the weaker 4-2 boards you're gonna see. Like Hecarim 2, Fine Vintage hasn't popped yet, Callista 1 backline. Yeah. So like a lot of the times rolling there will make the difference. And then yeah, also here like holding Rise is and Karma is really weird, just because like I think you're just committed.
Okay.
Like if you make a like if you think you're playing Rise from here, right? You would need Archangel, which I guess is playable. Well, you don't get Archangel, but like you need Morello and you need Archangel. Like you just need so much stuff to play AP from here. I think AP is really hard to play if you don't have like if you don't have Shred, if you don't have anti-heal, it feels really, really bad to play AP. And so that's why I kind of think you're committed Callista, because Callista doesn't actually need any of that. Like you don't need anti-heal, you don't need armor pen, and your Callista will be okay. Like you would prefer to have those things, but I would much rather play no LW, no Even Shroud, no anti-heal Callista, because it kind of eventually kills everything. You also have anti-heal from Katarina, then play no anti-heal Rise. And maybe that's like a design issue or a balancing problem or whatever you want to call it, but that's just kind of how the game is right now, where if you play like these AP comps without anti-heal and without a spark, you're literally just not killing anything. Like this Rise 2 here, I fear you're about to make it and sell Callista, and then all of a sudden you're just going to be killing 0 units for the rest of the game, and you're going to go 8th because your Rise isn't going to do any damage.
I have a Spark, but I don't have anti-heal.
Yeah, the problem is no anti-heal. Like Morello is red buff is legit required to play Rise and Karma.
Yeah.
Like you just can't angle the comps without them. And yeah, so I think you get like a little bit too flexible.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just really be heavily angling and like only holding Callista here.
Okay.
You're also even on Callista pair, so like, okay, you need to use the remover here for sure, by the way, and just hold the Callista. Like if you want to make this play, you just hold the Callistas on your bench and use the remover. I don't actually think Rise 2 is even stronger than Callista 1 here, just because like your board is kind of set up with like Fairy and multis. So I actually think this is straight up a weaker board. But if you did think it's stronger, this is a spot where you need to use the remover.
Okay.
And
so still stick with the Callista game plan. Just use Rise temporarily.
Yeah, like I think Callista is stronger, but if you think Rise is stronger here, you need to use the remover, because if you think about what you're saving, you're killing your Callista out to make 2 gold. Well, you don't even make 2 gold because you roll the next turn and buy Earthquake. Which I don't think you should ever buy Earthquake with your board unfinished, because it's just way too expensive. But you make 10 gold and then you make 10 gold again. So you essentially get 1 roll worth of gold, and you just completely kill your Callista out, which is like your best out from here. I think this is just like a comp. How do I put this? It's like not recognizing how like the strength level of each comp. I just think Callista's like Callista. It's not even I think Callista is like so much better than Rise that you should really just be heavily angling Callista here. Like here's the Callista 2. You have Callista 2 on your board. You're playing Callista 2. You're probably top 4 even on Recon 1. I don't know what you place from here. I would assume like at some point it's just really hard for you to kill anything without anti-heal, because you're just going to be playing like against a bunch of other people playing Preservers or Callista or Chrono. And yeah, it's really hard to play the game without anti-heal on your board. I mean, I guess you have a Katarina, but I mean, like the Katarina's not doing that much anti-healing. Yeah, it's just not okay.
Yeah, that was
you also rolling maybe a bit too aggressively with the animate, but yeah.
Yeah, I was too dizzy with animate.
So I need to use the restroom.
Okay. Yeah, we can just wrap it up.
Yeah, okay.
I think my TLDR is I should be really in 2-1, especially with more items. Like just commit to something, and more naturally, whatever direction the items are already pointing me toward. Stage 4, I think a big leak you mentioned multiple times is I'm buying combat charms, like non-trivial cost combat charms when my board's unfinished. So I should just avoid doing that. And then if I am going to play a little bit flexibly, like I am buying like Gwens and Rises, I should still stick to the overall game plan and not sell like the core.
Yeah, like you get the free removers, and I think another thing is you need to know like what's required to play the comp. Like I would say Rise is required to have anti-heal. Like you need anti-heal to play Rise or just never play it. Like Callista, you need Rageblade. Varus, you need IE. And those are like the conditions you kind of need to flex it. I would say Karma also needs anti-heal. And like I would really heavily angle away from the comps where you don't have like the things that you're kind of required to have. And it's like a lot of times if you're in a spot where you just hit a lot of them and you can go 9, it's okay. Then you can kind of work your way out of the board. But in this spot, like I wouldn't be in a place where you're kind of stuck 8. You just can't angle Rise here with no anti-heal. Like you're just not killing any units.
Okay. So this play wouldn't have been too bad if I did have anti-heal.
Yeah, like if you have Morello, it's a little more acceptable. Because Rise can actually kill units with anti-heal. I mean, I would still play Callista because I'm a big Callista fan, but
yeah.
Like I saw your match history, it looks like you're comfortable playing Rise and you like playing Rise, but you definitely need anti-heal to play it from here. And then also like this later transition is also a little bit dizzy, where I think Gwen is on your board for a little bit too long.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Karma needs anti-heal, Callista needs Rageblade, Varus needs IE, and like you can get away with it if you're in a really good spot. Like you don't need to play IE Varus if you're in a spot where you're going fast 9 and you hit 3 Varises and you're 30 gold left full HP. But outside of that, yeah, I would just stick to those things.